Just started the recording, so welcome everybody to another Cardinal House AMA. We're diving deep into the rebellion this time. It's currently Wednesday, October 5th. We got Brent here. Gonna get right into rapid fire questions. So, Brent, if you are ready.
Yeah, ready whenever you are, mate.
All right. So, first question is sweet or sour? What type of guy are you?
Oh, it depends. What type of food are we talking? If we're talking about a snack, I'm going sweet all day long. Um, but yeah, I do like a bit of like a sour apple stuff like that.
Okay, so if you were to go with like a green apple or a red apple, would you choose the green?
Probably, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I got a little bit too much of a sweet tooth, unfortunately. But yeah, stuff is super.
I'm not sure
Polly,
if it's something with age, possibly. Liking kind of more bitter, harsher taste.
I bet that is. I've actually recently started drinking just straight up black coffee. It's been
Yeah.
not bad. The next question: Polygon or Ethereum for a 5-year hold?
Polygon every day.
Right? Any particular reason why?
Um, so effectively every upgrade that Ethereum makes, even Vitalik has said that any Ethereum upgrade will actually benefit layer twos more so. Also, because it's cheaper than Ethereum, we're noticing a lot more adoption from big name brands like Disney and the likes of those. So yeah, I think Polygon's going to be the next big thing. I think it could actually, in the next 5 years, be a top three token.
That would be something. That would be something. I do hold some Polygon, so I would love that. I hold more Polygon than Ethereum. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Right, Shark Tank or Dragon's Den?
Well, that's a silly question. The obvious answer and the correct answer is Dragon's Den. Uh, it's got an air of class that you guys don't have. Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
very very
Anybody who's not met me before, who's in the audience, uh, just realise that I am very sarcastic. So these are all jokes. I like the Americans, but the British are better.
fair enough. I've seen a lot more Shark Tank than I have Dragon's Den, but they're both very good.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more humor in Dragon's Den, to be fair, because we are quite a sarcastic nation, just by our very culture. Um, you kind of get a lot more jesting and a lot more jovialness than in Shark Tank.
Or do you have like a British version of Kevin O'Leary on your Shark Tank that just roasts everybody?
Um, I'd probably say they all equally do it, but a fan favorite is Deborah Meaden. She is quite brutal with the way she does it, but it's brilliant at the same time.
That's awesome. Next question: Do you eat mac and cheese with a fork or a spoon?
My hands. Can I answer that?
Again.
Uh, no, probably with a fork. Um, no real reason why.
I've never understood that. That is the crowd favorite is with the fork. Actually,
I,
maybe
I
not
think
for this AMA, but
um, it's just a bit more of a versatile utensil because you can stab and scoop.
that's true. That's true. How about like Kraft mac and cheese where the noodles are really small, and if you try to scoop it up with the fork, they'll just kind of fall off.
At that point, I'd probably use a spoon, or if I didn't have a spoon, I would place my mouth as close to the bowl or the cup as I could and just scoop it in.
Just shovel it in.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, the last question. Very subjective. What has been the biggest lesson you have learned in the past year?
Um, Self-belief, probably. Um, Since the last few years have kind of been revolutionary for me in the way I view myself and hold myself. Confidence has gone from strength to strength, and I've rapidly realized that I'm more capable than I'd ever given myself credit for. So probably, yeah, self-belief is the biggest lesson I've learned.
That's awesome. A very, very good lesson to learn. Yeah, I think I have a pretty similar lesson that I've learned, and I think that I guess my biggest piece is if you learn from others in the space. I mean, really reaching out to people that are ahead of you, more life experience, especially coming from a young guy. I think that's one thing that I've learned tremendously is people are you can learn a lot from people, especially that have come from different walks of life, and really just broaden your perspective. Been a very eye opening lesson.
Yeah, I'd probably say to anybody who's younger, one of the most valuable pieces of advice I could give is just trust that even though you feel like you have no idea what you're doing, nobody else does either. It doesn't matter whether you're 20, 40, or 60, we're all just making it up as we go along. And some of us make the right decisions and some of us make the wrong decisions along the way. So the thing to learn from that is just try, do what you can, and show focus, and eventually something will stick.
Yeah, yeah, and then putting a big emphasis on learning from your mistakes, I think is a
Yeah.
big piece of that.
Yeah, it's the common saying is, oh, what's the wording? It's basically repeating the same cycle and expecting a different result. Is a very
Definition of insanity.
yeah. Yes, I probably didn't word it quite as eloquently as some others would, but yeah, it's you definitely need to learn. Every mistake is actually a success if you can turn it into one.
Yes, that is very true. Very important. But yeah, I like it. With that being said, let's dive into a little bit about yourself and why you started Rebellion.
Yeah, so there's a number of people in here who already know who I am. But for those who don't, my name's Brent. I'm the CEO of the Rebellion Project. My day job is my trade is as an engineer. However, I'm the manager of a mid-sized engineering firm in the UK. I've been trading the traditional stock markets for around 14 years now. Um, and I've been successful for the majority of them. Obviously, the first few years, I won't lie, they were rough, just as anybody else who learns to trade will be able to tell you. And then I started getting into about 3 years ago. The reason that I truly kind of set up for Rebellion is it was around Christmas of last year or early this year. I began designing the protocol. We're currently on version 4, and there was a lot of kind of doing it, but maybe never releasing it, kind of in the back of my head. And then one day, myself and Terry Mayhem, one of my co-founders, we set up a community for our Discords. It blew up. People asked if we were going to build a project, and I went, "Well, now's a better time than ever." And in truth, I'd basically been waiting for somebody to release the project I wanted to make for me, and that wasn't ever going to happen. So I did it myself.
Right. Yeah, I like it. And then I know a lot of us in the audience are pretty familiar with what you guys are doing, goals that you have set out to achieve. So if you just want to do a quick 10,000-foot overview of what the rebellion is and the problems that it's solving, for people, just to get them up to speed before we dive into kind of the deeper details.
Yeah, so to preface all of this, statistically, anywhere from 90 to 96% of people lose money when they invest or when they trade. That's the initial thing we're solving with a rebellion, as I've been consistently profitable for over 10 years now in my trading life. Um, what we are actually building, you can think of it as a venture capital firm for the masses. Now, what does that mean? It effectively means that in the traditional world, a venture capital firm is more or less reserved for the richest elites. It's for the 1%. What we're doing through the power of blockchain is giving everybody the opportunity to take part in those processes. So, how we actually are benefiting people, because people might go, well, I'm part of the kind of forward 10% of people that makes money on the markets. And that for those people, I would say very good, but we can still help you because most people don't have venture capital money. I'll be completely honest. On my own, I don't have venture capital money. Um, However, if we band together, we can actually take hold of those venture capital opportunities, much like with Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, where you can take a lump of capital, invest it into an early stage seed round, or actually buy a proportion of that business or project, and then reap the rewards together.
So being the Shark Tank DeFi, opening that as an opportunity to, you know, everyday people in crypto space. I like. So
Yeah, it's um it's a simple concept. Um, However, so far nobody's done it well, and I believe that we are the right team to actually make it happen.
yeah, so what's your or ideas or plans around making it different and better than, I guess, options that are currently out there? I'm not honestly aware of any, but do you have any plans to make it like gamified, very interactive, or have it high incentives for people to participate? Or I guess, what are your thoughts around that?
So I'll be honest, it's going to be very passive. It's going to be you buy your tokens, you stake your tokens, and then on the 28th of every month you come back and you claim your revenue share. It's the idea is that investing in these sorts of things is very complex, but for the user it should be simple. So gamifying it and everything like that is all well and good. However, it's not necessary. People will come to us just because they go, I know those guys make money. I actually don't want to do it myself because I keep getting rug pulled or whatever they happens to them. And they give us the money and we go and invest it for them on their behalf into opportunities that they couldn't get on their own. Now, on top of that, it's we're also offering a bunch of other products. We're not just investing the money. We've got software as a service. Now, this is a talking point that many people have seen. We've seen Horde do LMS. We've seen trading bots, things like that. Um, we decided to go down that path because the best investment strategies are ones that are hedged. Now, if we were just investing, that means we're relying on outside resources to make us money. Now, if we make our own products, we're actually generating that money and getting a 100% return on investment every single time because once it's done and it's a plug and play system, that allows us to make money passively. And one of our first ever client, Rain, Cody, their founder, is currently in the audience. Now, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. So, yeah, there's no real gamification. It's designed to be as simple as possible for everybody to partake in.
Got it. Makes sense, and there are lots of ways to approach it. Definitely a game show could be fun, but if it's more active and requires people to participate more, so it might take away from people's day to day lives, and making it super simple is definitely another good way to go. So I like it. And I guess going on the topic of the different revenue streams that you guys are building out, um, I guess I'll address it here. One of the points that was brought up in a research paper that we did about Rebellion was that it seems like you guys are offering a lot of different things, and it's hard to see like a clear focus. Um, what are your thoughts around that point? And I guess what is that clear focus? Like if somebody looks at the Rebellion, how do you want to paint the picture of what they want to see or what you want them to see?
Yeah, so in its simplest form, and it's going to sound really money hungry and everything like that, but the very core of Rebellion is let's make money. That's our sole and main focus point that we are zoning in on. Hence why and like I mentioned, with you're always better hedging your bets. You don't want to put 100% into these high risk, volatile assets. You want to put some into stable assets, some into other things, medium risk and the like. Now, that's our philosophy with effectively making so many products and services. I will expand on that in a second because these aren't all coming at once. It's a roadmap and it will be a progression of we get one thing right, we release the next. We get one thing right, we release the next. Um, but with those investments, like I see so many projects, and this is just from like an IRL real business perspective because I run a business for my day job. There's so many projects that think we'll find our niche and we'll stick to that. What those one or two things that we do and we'll do it well. Now that's really good, and there's businesses that are successful doing that, like a mum and pop shop. However, those aren't the businesses that turn into Apple. Those aren't the businesses that turn into Microsoft or Amazon. If you look at those other types of businesses, they have a finger in every single pot. So that's basically what we're doing. I always say there's no new ideas, there's an evolution of ideas. And what we're doing is emulating the real world and taking it into DeFi. So with that, obviously we've got the investing side, we've got all these different things. And I think it's important as well to recognize I'm not doing this on my own. We've got a great team behind us. And as these future steps and projects and products come out, that team will be expanded more and more so over time. Because it's a case of yes, you're right. If our team as it is right now tried to do all these things, we'd fail. That's a fact. How so? The only way you can scale into these things is by expanding your business. And that's what we do. It's what I've done in real life. I've expanded my business to an extreme degree since taking over it a few years back. It's gone from profit to profit every single year. And it's because I never rested on my laurels. And I was always, rather than going, yeah, we can do this one thing right, I got that thing right. And then I went, what else are we going to add on top? Because then if one thing fails, we've still got 9 other things to protect us. Whereas if you're only doing one thing and that thing fails, just checking, is Jojo in here or can I swear? um,
He's in here, but I think he's okay with it.
yeah, yeah. If you've got one thing and that one thing fails, you're fucked. For lack of better words. And that's just the honest truth from an actual outside business perspective. So that's why we're looking at all these things. But like I say, we're going to be update. I mentioned to you last night, didn't I? We're going to be updating our roadmap. We're going to try to make it, as everybody who's listening can probably tell, I like to use words and I like to use descriptive language. I recognise that in the white paper, that's probably not the way forward, and we're actually going to make it much more simple, much more clear, and have an exact path of where we're going over the coming weeks and months.
Got it. Yeah, I like that. That explanation really, and I think, like you said, a lot of people have different approaches to really a right or the. I think the point that stands out to me the most is when you do something you do it well before adding additional effects because, like you said, building multiple revenue streams is required to grow a business at some degree, and building that revenue, making it good, trying to perfect it to the best of your abilities before moving on to the next approach. So
Yeah, it's because yes, we can all multitask, can't we? Um, However, it's scientifically proven multitasking reduces our effectiveness at one given task. So if you actually go into the project and see behind the scenes, you'll see that I only ever talk to people and say, "This is your task right now. That's your task right now," and they focus on that one thing so that they can really hone in and perfect it. Obviously, my job as CEO is to oversee everything, so I have got to have my eye on every single piece of the pie that's happening or being planned for the future. But I'm not the one who's sat there day in, day out building it, is it? So, yes, even though I'm the one piecing the puzzle together in my mind, as if I'm Sherlock Holmes, um, the team themselves, they focus on one thing until they've got it right, and then they move on to the next.
got it. That definitely makes sense, and I think honestly at Cardinal House we can relate to that piece. We've kind of been learning a lot as we grow, and that's one of the pieces that we've learned is if you have multiple things on your plate, it's hard to give focus to all of them equally, and really make them to the best of your ability. And even just the mental bandwidth it takes up, like you could have time in the day to do it, but going from the mindset of trying to grow this to switching over to trying to grow something else just of a day even tough. There's a lot that gets taken up.
Yeah,
So
and it's very hard to switch off as well. In that regard, isn't it?
yeah.
Because anybody who knows me knows that I don't really sleep, and that's largely because I am that person who's always thinking and always looking at every single option and path. And for most people, I'd say don't do it. I'm fortunate enough that I've got a brilliant partner who helps support me and look after the kids. And she allows me to wake up in the morning, start working, and then keep working and go to sleep at night, and get a few hours. Um, but yeah, it's for most people they can't sustain that kind of work ethic for a long period of time. So you really do have to segment and segregate your workloads for the majority of people.
Makes sense. And I guess on the topic of different revenue streams, curious to hear. I know you have the RMS. Is it the RTS? Is that what they mention?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I guess.
that's the rebel management system and the rebel tax system. If you don't want to abbreviations, but saying that enough times kind of drives you mental, so we abbreviate, don't we?
Yeah. I'm curious to hear. I know I've heard about it in an AMA once before. I don't know if this was specifically covered, but what makes the RMS different from, say, like Horde's L?
Yeah, so effectively, like you say, Horde's got an LMS, and we've even mentioned Horde in our white paper. First and foremost, they were actually our inspiration for making the RMS. So initially, these were going to be two different products that didn't actually work together. We looked at the LMS and we went, it's a good idea. However, it's far from perfect. So we looked at it and we went, well, first and foremost, the simplest thing we fixed was the LMS actually aims to, when it rebalances, I guess maybe I'll give a brief explanation of how a LMS works, for anybody who doesn't know here. Effectively, let's say you launch your token at $1, and then you've got a top and a bottom range. That top range might be $1.10, and the bottom range might be 90 cents. Now, an LMS's job is basically to buy when it hits 90 cents and sell when it hits $1.10, and that way it keeps it within that range by buying and selling continuously. Now, if it drops below it, it will do a bigger buy, depending on how far below it drops, and try to rebalance into that range. So what we witnessed with Horde's LMS was it was actually trying to rebalance to the center of the range. Now, that works. However, it's less cost effective for the protocols that are using it. And if it's not cost effective, eventually it's going to kill that protocol. So that was the first improvement we made. We reworked the mathematics and how it ran, and we made it rebalance to the edges of the range. So if it dropped down to 85 cents, it aims to rebalance as close to that 90-cent mark as it can. From there, we started looking and we went, well, actually, why can't we make it cheaper as well? So our fees are the lowest on the market, and that usually entails a worse product, doesn't it? However, I can tell you with full confidence, because of how good Equinox is at development and code, we've actually got the best product on the market. We just believe in a system of scale as opposed to the Apple model where you price it expensive but you make fewer sales. So our fees are respectively a quarter of what Hordes are at their base value. So they charge 1% on every single trade. For each of our products, we charge 0.25%. If you combine them, you actually get two products for 0.5%, and it's still half as much as the LMS. Now, this is where the RTS comes in, which is our Rebel tax system. This effectively lets you take taxes from the opposite side of the LP. So, for anybody who doesn't know how taxes work at the moment, when you sell your ZAC token, what happens is Zach would actually take all the taxes in Zach token because he physically cannot take it in any other way than that singular way at the moment. What we devised is using our RMS and combining it, we could actually take the taxes from the opposite side. So instead of getting Zach token, you get USDC, and you never have to do a contract sell again, because that's the important part. Taking taxes in your own token, yes, you've got real revenue that you can use at that point of instance instantaneously. However, with that comes a huge benefit, which is normally if a protocol isn't just going to burn every single bit of tax, they actually want to spend it at some point for investments, and they have to sell their own token, which if they have a large amount of them means that they're actually dumping onto the market, creating a big red candle. That creates hysteria everywhere, and other people start dumping, and the token price just goes down and down and down. With our system, that never happens. You never get a contract sell again.
Like it. Yeah, that's super. I know some dexes are actually coming out with similar function. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if there's right now that have that, but I've heard rumors of a few that are building towards that.
Yeah, I can give you a name of one on Binance, which is attempting to do similar or same. Obviously, their mathematics and the way they do it may be different because our RMS and RTS are closed source for obvious reasons, and so will their code be. But their name, I believe, is PySwap, EYE swap. You can probably Google it and bring it up. Last time I checked, I think it was actually the top search. And some people would go, oh, that means competition. Are you not worried? And I kind of go, no, it proves that we're aiming in the right direction. Because if I was the only person who had the idea, it's the likelihood of it being a good one is lessened. If more people are thinking this is a good idea, it shows that I was on the right track from the get-go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And some people have liquidity locked on, like say Pancake Swap or Quick Swap, these exchanges that don't have that capability. Are you able to integrate it in a contract that is already launched? has liquidity locked on specific decks already?
Yeah, it can work anywhere, and we can do it from launch or we can do it after launch. We just need to we may need to adjust things and stuff like that because the RTS is actually handling the taxes itself rather than you doing it through the token contract. So effectively, as long as you have function within your contract where you can turn off taxes, we can implement it at any point in that token's life cycle.
Okay. That's super awesome. I think that right there is a massive competitive advantage compared to Dexes. Like it.
Yeah, and we may actually be in talks with a deck to, which is quite an interesting deck. So I won't say too much, but we are in talks with one to kind of fully integrate both systems. Um, but obviously these meetings need to be at closed doors, so that's about as much as I can tell you publicly for now.
Ooh. I'm just, I understand. There's a lot of you don't want to announce anything that's not finalized. Have things change up on people.
Yeah, and plus there's the large part of what takes time is the negotiation, and it could come to a point where they go, "We want this much of it," and we go, "Well, we're only prepared to give you this much," or vice versa, and the negotiations fall through. That's always a possibility. So it's always best not to say who they are in case people then go, well, those people are dickheads. And it's not the case. It's just we're both trying to get the best deal for our side of the business, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, definitely makes sense. And another topic that we wanted to chat about token launch. Have a token coming up pretty soon. I know you have some a lot of mathematics behind the rebasing and why you have it, stopping after I think it was 100 days.
Yep, indeed.
What does that token or what's the token's role in the ecosystem? And I guess how does it um or what synergies does it have with the NFTs, other revenue streams that you?
So you can kind of think of the token as the center of this universe or ecosystem. Um, we wanted to do the token as that central piece because they're fractionalized. It wouldn't matter if the token went to $1,000. You could still buy a fractionalized piece of that token and participate, couldn't you, with $10? Whereas doing it solely through NFTs would mean there is actually a cap. Some people can't afford to chuck $120 at an NFT. And then once they're all minted out, a lot of people can't afford to throw $1,000 on the secondary market and then at an NFT, can they? So that's kind of how they synergize. The token is for everyone and anyone. Now, if you want more on top, you can utilize these NFTs to increase and inflate the value you get from investing into the protocol.
Interesting. Yeah, that token fractionalization piece, that's a good way to word it. It is being able to buy a portion of a token rather than a whole single NFT. That definitely makes sense and lowers that barrier to entry for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
because in my opinion, like out the gate, didn't I? I said we're bringing venture capitalism to the masses. Now, I'd be a liar if I went to the masses as long as you can afford it.
yeah.
Um, because then it's not mass, it's you're actually making it exclusive to people who have a certain amount of money in their pockets. Um, so yeah, that token is pivotal, and we'll be obviously using our own RMS and RTS as that token releases, and for as long as we need to use it. Because I'll be honest, if we go into a bull market tomorrow, we don't need it. The market will carry our price up. But let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen, is it? So yeah, for as long as we need it, that token price will be supported by the RMS. We'll take our taxes via the RTS, and at least at that point, it's going to be a similar value for everyone at any point whilst that RMS is running.
Got it. Makes sense. What are the pre-sale details for the token? How much is being raised and when is it?
Yeah, so the actual pre-sale kicks off in 23 hours and 22 minutes. We started this AMA at 7 o'clock in my time, and the pre-sale starts 7 o'clock tomorrow. So what I am going to say though is at the end of it, I'll probably put a comment in the chat, and anybody who's interested and wants to get a whitelist, we'll do kind of the first 5, 6, 7 people to react on it. I'll give you a whitelist spot, but you're going to have to be really quick in actually getting it in because whitelist submissions shut off in 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's to allow us enough time to obviously prepare for tomorrow. Now, in terms of the pre-sale, you're getting a slight discount on when we launch, of course, because you're taking more risk. We've got some advisors in here as well. We've got Paul, we've got Giles, we've got Lamp, Pandu's in here. It's pretty chaotic looking at all those faces. So I may have missed some people. But yeah, they were actually our seed investors, so we raised some capital through that initially. On a private seed investment round. Then we went into the NFT sale. Those two combined, we've raised, it was around 110 grand that we raised from those two independently. With the token sale, the max amount of whitelists was set to 300 for that. Now, we filled about half of it, which gives us more than enough people whitelisted to actually achieve what we need. We've already achieved what we need, but what we want. Effectively, 5 grand is each individual's kind of raise. They all get that. So if that's 150, it could top out over 500,000, say, for example, if we had 100 people. However, that's not going to happen. So yeah, there's no real floor or hard cap because we have achieved enough to launch, but I imagine we're going to raise anywhere from another 50 to 100 grand as a minimum.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, you guys have raised, considering the current market conditions, a phenomenal raise.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you do, again, I'm sometimes too honest for my own good, aren't I? But sometimes you do look at the bear market numbers in comparison to the bull market numbers, and you go, "Oh, if only," because you could literally walk out onto the road outside your house and go, "I'm launching a token in 5 minutes," and raise $1 million. Whereas when we actually look at the circumstances, we've already raised more than a lot of protocols have in this environment, and we're only going to raise more tomorrow night with the token sale. So we've actually done phenomenally well. That's not meant to sound arrogant or anything like that, but we've seen protocols raise 20 or 30 grand, haven't we? And you're never going to survive on that. The minimum you really need is 100k in these markets, as long as you can play your cards right, and we've already surpassed that.
I mean, kudos to you guys on that. That's phenomenal. Where is all of that capital that's being raised? Where is that going to be allocated?
So some of it is already being invested and played with. We are utilizing Alchemy Trades, who you've got on tomorrow night, I believe, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, we're utilizing their software as a service. That's yielding pretty well. At the moment we're trading 3 pairs. We're trading Ethereum, Matic, and Optimus. Optimus isn't the biggest fan of us because I don't think they like our bots slowing down their growth from taking profit constantly. But yeah, the Optimus bot that raised around 9% in a week. The others, they're raising anywhere between 3 and 5% a week. And other than that, we're kind of yield farming at the moment, doing things like that. We're looking into potential investments, maybe doing some mining or some validator nodes along the way. But a large chunk of it, obviously, is going to end up going to the LP because we have to fund the LP and we have to fund the RMS because it does cost money to run an RMS. Which is why it's also so important. We've got all these revenue streams because if one does fail, we can still pay for the RMS in other ways. And then whatever's left, effectively, it all goes into investment because what's left is it's all your money. Any of you who have put money in or are going to put money in, rest assured this is your money. Like all that money we've raised, that's not out of my bank account. That is all of your money. So we're going to invest it as much as we can without basically having a tiny LP that's going to get destroyed in a couple of weeks. And that's more or less where it's all going. The RMS, the LP, and then the rest into investments.
Makes sense. Since you have like a goal on when you want to do your first venture capitalist investment, because when you say investments, do you mean like different investments to raise or generate cash flow, like these trading bots, or when you say investments, do you specifically mean venture capitalist?
Yeah, sorry, I'll distinguish between the two then. So we're trading at the moment rather than like quote unquote investing. We've spoke to one firm so far in terms of like a acquisition slash merger type of situation. Whether or not that comes to fruition, we're still deciding because I think I touched on it last time about our process in these kind of matters is we're going to do all the maths ourselves initially because we need to have these closed door things before we represent it to the community. But from there, these decision making processes will actually involve the community. So our advisors like Lamp, Giles, Paul, we'll bring it to them first. We'll speak to them and get their thoughts on it. And then anybody who's actually bought the NFTs, that's a further feature set of our NFTs is that those people can come in and we then have a closed door meeting with a larger audience, which will allow us to kind of evaluate the market sentiment, as it were, on these things. So what I'll say with the VC side of it, the actual investing and buying a proportion of a project is it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. We're only going to invest in actual fundamentally solid projects.
Right. You don't want to force an investment. I mean, it's never a good thing.
Yeah, if we were in a bull market, we'd invest in loads of stuff because you've got a lot more coming out the door, and you know that you could easily get your ROI in a week, even if it goes bad. In these markets, it's more methodical. You need to take your time. You need to really find those gems within the dirt and pick wisely. Because at the end of the day, like I just mentioned, it's all of your money. It's not my money. Like I'm investing it on your behalf, like a VC firm does in the real world. So my job is to protect your money as well as grow it.
Got it. Yeah, that definitely makes. Speaking of kind of having custody of other people's money and investing it for them, what are the regulations around that? I know that can be a very complicated and gray topic, but have you done research into that? And maybe if you like a license, or I guess I'm not sure exactly where that lies with investing in a token.
Yeah, so currently in the UK, we are scot free. Effectively, things are going to change when they start to regulate stablecoins. Now, that regulation is probably about 2, maybe 3 years away by the time it actually passes through Parliament and becomes law. Because these things are deathly slow, aren't they? Especially when the governments, none of them seem to know what they're talking about. um, so yeah, the currently we don't need to be regulated because tokens are not deemed currency. They're effectively funny monopoly money in the eyes of the government and the law. Um, Once tokens become regulated, like stablecoins, because we'll be holding stablecoins, and those will technically be our investors' money, that's when we need to have FCAA regulation, which is the Financial Conduct Authority, and you need to be accredited. So that's where the second A comes from. Now, we've already spoke to lawyers, well, solicitors over here, about getting that process underway. And that's going to be something we implement before we ever even need it. Even if we sit on it for 2 years, it's better to have it because then when regulation does come out, we're not trading illegally. We're doing everything by the book.
Got it. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And having a plan in place for that regulation does come, I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
gonna
unavoidable.
separate you guys from a lot of other thinking ahead. I like
Yeah,
that.
I think that that is a big differentiator between us because you'll notice a lot. I call this a business, whereas other people go, "It's an experiment. It's the project." Um, no, for me, this is a business. This is me telling you now, as CEO, I am going to do everything in my damn power to really push and grow this business. It's not a project, it's not an experiment, and it's not fun and games. We're talking money, and that's my job, is to make money.
Got it. Like that. Definitely makes sense. And I guess I have one last question, or we move into some questions as well as the hoot for a chance to win $100.
Yes,
So
sir.
my question is, do you have any long-term goals or things that you want to expand into outside of making money? I mean, that's very broad, but what are the avenues that you're going to take in the future to making money, or you plan on just expanding on what you have in?
Yeah, so there's obviously an internal roadmap and an external one. All the things that we've spoke about and you can kind of read on our website and our white paper, that's the external roadmap. Obviously, we're not going to share the internal roadmap because it's subject to change and we're always evolving it and kind of going, is that the right choice? Do we need to change the order in which we do things? If we shared that, then people would tend to go, this is this is a mess and it's complete chaos because they'd see things moving around every single week. But yeah, where we aim to go is effectively grow and grow and grow. If we can sustain the 140 days for the rebasing and maintain the RMS, effectively that takes us from 100 million tokens to 400 million. And that will be a 300% increase. So if we're launching with 100 million tokens at 3 cents, that gives us a $3 million market cap. So in 140 days, we would like to see a $12 million market cap. From there, we'll evaluate because maybe the markets start recovering, and along the way, we may actually raise the price floor of our RMS. But in terms of our investments, it's kind of, I was going to say fintech, but it's not. It's not fintech as in the traditional finance market. However, it's still fintech to a degree, isn't it? Most of our investments are going to be into monetary markets because that's a large proportion of where the money's at. Um, Probably worth also talking about because there's the game on our roadmap. Just to be clear with everybody, that's not coming anytime soon. That is the biggest and hardest thing to do. We're not going to be launching a game in a month because that's not the quality of game we want to release. Terry, Crypto Mayhem, he works for a game studio, so he knows exactly how hard it is to make these games. But in terms of the development, we will actually be gaming with a kind of indie game studio to get it out. Because of the amount of workload that's involved, they're far better suited to build it than we are. But it takes a lot of money to do that as well. So that's going to be something that's easily a year out at best. So anybody looking forward to the game, hold tight because that's really a big flagship product that we're aiming for further down. But we're not going to rush it out. It needs to be fun to play before anything else in terms of play to earn is attached to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We've seen a lot of play to earn are not fun. Might
Well,
earn a
yeah, you
couple
look at
bucks, but
Axie,
not
isn't
fun.
it? Like people were playing Axie not because it was fun, but because they could make money out of it.
Yep.
I truly believe a game should be first and foremost fun to play, and then if you can make money out of it, it's an added bonus. But people should want to just play it because they like playing the game, not because it's going to make you money.
Yeah, yeah, I like that approach. But yeah, with that being said, we are ready to get into the Kahoot. So I had just posted in the AMA questions channel the link to join, and then I typed in the room code as well. That is D26J.
Can I partake?
You can, but you can't win. I'm assuming that you'd know all the answers.
Maybe. Although I haven't slept a lot, so I may get one or two wrong. Who knows?
I'm pretty sure you actually typed up these answers for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll give it just a couple of minutes to for people to join up. But another question I had on as far as the game goes, how does that tie into a roadmap? How do those long term goals of making?
Yeah, so the segment of the gaming market we're targeting is the mobile gaming market because obviously, like I said, our key principle is to make you guys money. Um, the mobile gaming market makes up around 60%, if not more, of the revenue that's generated from gaming. So it makes sense to target that because it's the most accessible to everybody. You can pull your phone out your pocket and play wherever you are. Um, So we'll be kind of targeting that, and the way we've structured it is that it's not like the usual Ponzi-nomics where you get a poo token and that gets inflated into infinity, and then everything dumps when everyone goes, "Well, I'm a millionaire. Goodbye." Um, this will be much like a Clash of Clans-esque RTS, where you'll kind of have daily energy, things like that is growing and growing and growing, and then it depletes as you're using the game. And if you want to do cash boosts, you can pay in a US dollar value. We'll be using USDC more than likely. There was a point where I dreamt about maybe making an algorithmic coin, and I went, no, fuck that. It's only going to die one day. So let's go with a tried and true USDC. Um, Effectively all that money, the way that you claim the rewards from that game is actually it goes back to Rebellion Capital. So it all feeds back into the central ecosystem of Rebellion Capital, where you can stake your NFTs, you can stake your tokens, and you effectively use us as the middleman. And because we're using USDC, it's not inflationary. That'll be real revenue, not something that we're printing. It effectively just takes away all the Ponzi-nomics of previous play to earn systems.
No, that sounds super exciting. We will go ahead and start the quiz. Yes, 10 more seconds for any of you guys trying to join in. Winner gets 100 USDC. So we got some high stakes. Um, but yeah, going off of creating that game, I guess what goes into that? I know obviously game development isn't cheap. Um, you have like a plan to be able to afford that development cost, and then a timeline as far as when people can reap the benefits of that. Because I'm assuming that um, is it a correct assumption that the funding will come from the rebellion's treasury?
Yeah, so as time goes by, if we can, because there's going to be different factions within the game and things like that, and obviously if we're incorporating NFTs into the game, um, we're going to want those factions to be represented, aren't we? Now, with that being said, we may end up having other NFT drops which kind of have an additional benefit or an exclusive benefit purely to the game, and then those will help us fundraise the game also. Or two people said Cardinal House. Um, so yeah, we. With that being said, it's yeah. If we didn't do the NFT drops, what we would effectively do is say, look, we're at the 8 month point. We've got a spare $1 million, for example. We would like to take half of that and invest it as if it was a VC play, as if we were that venture capital firm go into a new fledgling project or business, except we would own 100% of it. So there's a few different kind of streams where we could get the funds from, and it all just comes down to assessing the market conditions at the time, I suppose.
Got it. Um, yeah, one person that said 150.
To be fair, that's not far off the
It
actual
was
price.
actually very close. You're right. We got Pi taking the lead by 1 point. It's neck and neck right now. The top five are all on 6 points. Um, 6 points
I'll
apart
tell
from
you
each other.
what, I'll give. Obviously, I'll exclude Pi and Cody because they've already got whitelists. But the top 5 people in the chart that don't have whitelist, I'll give them a whitelist that they can submit their wallet tonight if they'd like one.
Okay, up in the ante. I like it. Yeah, I don't know if we touched up on most people did get.
Yeah, I mentioned it briefly, I believe, but didn't dive too much into it.
Lamp said he misclicked. Still got the point. Like he thought the right one.
Yeah, so this is actually a good point as well, which we didn't touch on in terms of revenue streams, is the on-chain a lot. Oh, yeah. I said that just as anything probably said. I was trying to time it right with when the counter went down. So the on-chain alliance, we actually own 50% of that business, alongside with our equal equity partner, Delta Finance. Effectively, it started out as a community of communities where, as I keep blabbing on to people, no man is a mountain, are they? And you can weather the storm a lot better of a bear market if you all combine together and grow together. So that was kind of the initial concept, but obviously because time is money, I went, well, we also need to monetize this in some way, and sat down with Yusuf and Chase from Delta, along with my own founders, and we spoke about it, and we went, well, we could have a KYC service, an audit service, and we spoke about KYC, and we've effectively made a KYC passport as opposed to like the traditional one, which is bound to a protocol or project. So that will travel with developers, marketers, anybody who kind of works within crypto can have this KYC passport, so it can travel from project to project with them. And that means that we can actually then create on-chain markets, which is effectively going to be the Upwork or the Fiverr of crypto, where all those people, those aforementioned people that I said about, they would actually be able to come and list their services, and much like Upwork and Fiverr do, where they take that kind of 1-2% commission on every trade that goes through the platform, we would do so as well. And that's an additional revenue stream that comes back to us. Obviously, again, we couldn't build this on our own. Hence why we're so thankful to have Delta partnering with us because whilst we've been preparing for our token launch and the NFT launch and stuff like that, they've been phenomenal. They've been really pulling the ranks behind the scenes and trying to build up the on-chain alliance to be a benefit for everyone.
Got it. Exciting stuff. Super exciting stuff. We are on to the last question, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the suspense and start the question. It's kind of holding everybody hostage there for a second. But I think Pierre and Pi are very close, first and second place. We'll see if who takes the.
Oh, you got it wrong. It's actually by the Sexy Brent NFT.
I think somebody asked about that at the start of the AMA, so if you want to touch up on that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a meme that came along one day where everybody was doxing themselves. I'd obviously doxed myself from the beginning, but I went, "Do you want to see a funny picture?" And I sent a picture of me in the bath, looking all kind of looking as if I was trying to shoot for a perfume advert or something like that. And it just got memed into oblivion. And then I thought I'm going to make it into an NFT for a laugh, and the community's kind of just taken it, and it's got a mind of its own now. It's grown beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, when you do that to yourself, it's bound to turn into a meme. Yeah, you're familiar with
Yeah,
the community. You know how they act.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I was well aware it was going to happen. But the intention with that is actually one day, once I've kind of let the joke run its course a little bit, we'll actually auction it off as a charity auction, and 100% of the proceeds will go to a mental health charity in the UK, and it will just be a nice little thing to do with it, where the joke serves its purpose, but it's also done good for somebody who needs help out there.
Yeah, that's all. And I says, who's Pierre? Actually, that's a really good point. There's nobody in the audience here, so if you want to send me a screenshot, one. If not, I don't really know who you are, so I'd have to go on to the next person, which would be Pi. So send a screenshot if you won. Oh,
Oh, is it Paul? Is
it
it?
is Paul. It is Paul.
And
Damn
Paul's already got one as well. So I know Paul's got one, Lamp's got one, Pie's got one, Cody's got one. Who's Bright?
Uh, maybe it's the Bright Zone question. It's tough when people don't join with the Discord names.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to scroll down to see more winners. If you offer some guys, Cosmo, Osaz, Ayo, Lactic Empire.
Okay, let's do it this way then. So if you were on the leaderboard, I've dropped I'm Spartacus into the AMA questions chat like that, and I'll give the first few people a whitelist roll.
Sweet. Right. Paul, if you want to DM me your wallet address, he said you'd be happy to donate the prize. Yeah, I mean, shoot me a DM. We can sort that out right after this AMA. But Brent, do you have anything else to add that we didn't go through?
No, other than come along to the Discord if you want to see it. I'll drop the link now. Speaking of which, because obviously these things they can be a little bit much, can't they? There's a lot of information that gets chucked out very rapidly. So if you want to learn more, you can come along to the Rebellion and you can check us out. Ask any questions. Our community is really good with answering questions for people who don't know already. And like I say, the people who react to that thing, if you want a whitelist, let me know and I'll sort you out. But you've now got about an hour and 50 minutes before you need to get your wallets in. You better be quick.
All right, I will put one last message. Come on, people, react to it to get the list. But yeah, with Kurt asking, can he get a double whitelist?
Is he going to fill both of it? Kurt, are you going to fill both of your allocations?
Yeah, Kurt, pressure's on, buddy. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on in the audience. 35, almost 40 of you today. Phenomenal turnout.
When you said 35, I thought you were trying to quote my age. I was about to go, oi, I'm not that old.
No, we had 35 people. We have 35 people. At one point, it's at 40 for a little bit. It's phenomenal. It's very humbling to see 35 people take an hour plus out of their day to hear what I have to say and about projects to chat with. Really appreciate you guys. Brent, again, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with the token launch. For exciting times for you guys.
Well, yeah, thanks for having us back as well. That's one of the things I wanted to say because you were our first AMA, weren't you? And we've
Yeah,
kind of come full circle and come back, and compared to what we were, what 3-4 months ago now, things have changed and expanded rapidly.
yeah, yeah. It's been super awesome seeing you guys. It's great. You guys are always welcome back.
Oh, thanks.
Very fun to hear from, and I'm sure we'll have you on some more events. Speaking of which, before everybody
Yeah,
leaves, we do have an event coming up. We got a roast off, a founder roast off on Saturday, October 15th. So yeah. Brent, do you have anything to
that's it.
add to that?
Yeah, so people, if you've ever watched those celebrity roasts where the main participant stands up there and everybody takes a piss out of them for 5 minutes, and we all have a laugh. Um, that's effectively what we're emulating, but for project founders. So if you want to win some prize money and get effectively paid for making fun of me or any other founder that joins, um, we're on, like you say, on the 15th of October. Come over to the Rebellion Discord and take the piss out of me and every other founder that comes on stage.
Yeah. Just be careful what you say to the Godfather because he might back and get at spitting games. Be careful.
Yeah, I think me and the Godfather are probably going to be on each other's panels.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be absolutely hilarious. So I know we did that roast off for the chess tournament. The guys from Sphere just got their butts handed to them from the Godfather. That was hilarious. But
Yeah, it was that was the highlight of my day that day, I think.
well, likewise, dude, that was the highlight of my week. But yeah, looking forward to it. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope that you all have a phenomenal rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, of course. Take care, everybody.